Let's talk about circles and some important vocabulary for just a few minutes. The first part of circles I want to mention is that the degrees in a circle are equal to 360 degrees. So if you add up all the angles within one circle, you need to know that they add up to 360 degrees. And a semicircle is half a circle. That would add up to 180 degrees. The next thing I want to point out is the center of a circle. Right here is a nice little drawing to add to your notes, is O. The radius would either be MO or ON, and the diameter is twice the radius, or it's the line that connects through the center to endpoints on the circle. So you can name it MON, you could name it NOM. There are a few different ways we could have named that same segment. But diameter is twice the radius. The radius goes from the end point is at the center and one other point on the circle. And your center point is in the middle. And a lot of times they will label that as an O, but not necessarily. The area of a circle can be found using pi r squared. R is the radius. An area of a circle is to find how much space that that circle takes up. So you would want to find out area using pi r squared. Circumference is equal to 2 pi r, or pi times diameter, and circumference is figuring out the distance around the outside of the circle. So it's sort of like the perimeter of our circle. Two very important formulas to work with in this unit are distance and midpoint. So if you haven't already added these to your notes, we need to add these two to your notes. So pause and make sure you write those down. And then we're going to talk about a few more things dealing just with circles. All right, so the first word on this board is a chord. A chord is a segment whose endpoints are on the circle. Notice it does not necessarily go through the center, because that would be a diameter. Diameter is a more specific word for that chord, and you'd want to call those the diameter. But a chord is some other segment that touches on the circle at 2 points. A secant could be a line, ray, or segment that intersects a circle at 2 points. A tangent is a line, segment, or ray in the plane of the circle that intersects that circle in exactly 1 point. So the difference between secant and tangent just skims the side of the circle and touches it in that 1 point, where a secant goes through the circle and touches it at 2 points. So they are different in that way. And then a central angle is when you have an angle whose vertex is at the center of your circle. Let's look at just a few more words on the next board. We have semicircle, major arc, and minor arc. So a semicircle is half of a circle, and it measures 180 degrees. So if you have an arc that measures 180 degrees, you would say that it's a semicircle. A major arc is an arc that measures larger than 180 degrees. So over here it's pictured in blue. It's the one that goes further around the circle than 180, or more than halfway around your circle. A minor arc is when you have an arc that's smaller than 180 degrees. So that's pictured over here in green. Let me draw a little arrow. So that's if it's less than 180 degrees, or less than half of your circle. And then one more important formula to write down is arc length is equal to the measure of the arc. The measure of the arc should go with your central angle. So like that arc and that central angle have the same measure, and it's divided by 360. So measure of the arc divided by 360 times the circumference of that circle. So just write this in your notes and we'll